I was 13 years old when I truly understood what it meant to be alone. My father had already died. He wasted away slowly first, too weak to work, then too weak to move, and finally too weak to breathe. Starvation doesn't come all at once. It drags you into darkness over time. I watched him disappear before my eyes, and I couldn't do a thing. My mother did what she could, scavenging, bargaining, disappearing for days just to bring back a few kernels of corn. But it was never enough. Then one day, she left and didn't come back. I didn't know where she went or if she was even alive. She'd whispered something before she left, something about trying to reach the border. I didn't understand what that really meant at the time. All I knew was that she was gone. Soon after, my sister disappeared too. She was older than me and braver. I think she was trying to escape. I never saw her again. So there I was, 13-year-old boy with no food, no family, and no future. I was completely alone in North Korea. I began sleeping in train stations. The floor was freezing, the air sharp, but I stayed because it was the only place with warmth from the engines or leftover food from passengers. I learned how to beg. I learned how to steal. I stopped going to school. Not that it mattered. No one cared. Kids like me homeless, filthy and hungry, we were invisible. Or worse, treated like criminals. I got beaten more times than I can count. Every day was about survival. Finding food, avoiding the police, staying warm, staying invisible. I stopped dreaming. I stopped hoping. All I wanted was to make it to tomorrow. But even that wasn't guaranteed. Then, one night, I overheard someone talking about the river, the Tumen River, the border, China, escape. At first I thought it was suicide. Crossing that river meant leaving everything I knew and risking everything I had left. If you were caught, they didn't just kill you, they made you disappear. Work camps, torture, death. North Koreans aren't allowed to leave, ever. But staying meant dying slowly, painfully, and certainly. So, I decided to go. I waited until night. The river wasn't wide, but it was freezing and fast. I remember how my hands shook as I stepped into the water. I remember thinking, what if someone sees me? What if I drown? But mostly, I remember being afraid, terrified. It wasn't courage that pushed me forward, it was desperation. I made it across. But freedom didn't come instantly. In China, I wasn't a citizen. I wasn't even legal. I was a ghost. If the Chinese authorities found me, they'd send me back. And that meant death. So I hid. I moved constantly. Slept in abandoned buildings, ate scraps from the trash. I was still alone, but now I had a new fear. Not just hunger, but discovery. Then something happened that changed everything. I met someone, a man, a missionary, though I didn't understand what that meant at the time. He gave me food. He didn't ask anything from me. And when I told him I had nowhere to go, he didn't turn me away. He helped me, quietly, secretly. Through a network I barely understood, he connected me with others, people who were willing to risk everything to help someone like me. They got me documents, a passport, a plan, and one day, I boarded a plane. When I stepped off that flight, I was in the United States. I didn't know English. I didn't know how to use a phone or a computer. I didn't know anyone. I was terrified all over again. But I was free. The first time someone handed me a full plate of food and told me I could eat as much as I wanted, I cried. I didn't even know what it felt like to be full. I didn't think people actually lived like that. Every part of my life in America felt like a miracle. I was used to being treated like a dog, and suddenly people were smiling at me, asking me how I felt, what I wanted to be. I went to school, learned English, made friends, graduated. Years later, I stood on a stage and gave a TED Talk. Me, Joseph Keemaboy, who used to sleep in train stations and steal scraps to survive. I stood under the lights and told the world what it was like to grow up in North Korea, what it was like to escape, what it means to be truly free. People call me brave, but I wasn't. I was a scared kid who got lucky. Lucky to survive, lucky to find people who cared, lucky to be here. There are still people in North Korea, kids like me, who are starving, suffering, silenced. They don't have a voice. They don't have hope. I speak now because I have to. Because if I don't, who will? My story isn't just about escape. It's about survival. It's about the power of hope, even in the darkest places. And it's about the people strangers who chose to help when no one else would. I'm not just telling my story for me. I'm telling it for the millions who can't,